our thistles all nice and clean and shaved. Well, they're shaved. We still need to clean them. We want to run some water. You'll notice, you grab a bigger one. These things are hollow. For the most part, they stay clean inside. But if there's a breach or a break on the plant anywhere, ants and bugs and stuff will get inside. So we want to clean them real good, and we want to run water through the straw to make sure that there's nothing in there. We're going to need to cut these if they're too big. And I want to measure them. Some of them fit in the jar, so I'm going to hold. Take them about that size. Clean them out. Put them on my towel. I'll use this one up. For the ones that I'm going to leave whole, I'm just going to use the tips because they're the softest, and the parts that are getting a little bit more firm, I'm just going to slice. Okay, now we have 2 jars of the long cut. These are the backside. They're still tender enough to use, but they're not as sweet and delicate and tender as these, so I'm going to cut these into little rings. Up to the point to where I feel they're getting too tough to use. And you see, really the size isn't that great of an indicator because this big old piece right here is more tender than some of these young pieces. It's just which part of the developmental stage the thistle is at when you pick it. If you wanted to get the absolute most room out of your jar, you could cut them long ways like this, and they would just stack, and then you get more room. And I'll save some of these tougher ones for the dog too, because she just loves to chew on these. And she can't get them herself, so she just sits around waiting for me to clean one for her. So I guess I'll give her one of the tough ones. Now that we've got our brine boiled, I want to go and, because we're probably not going to use all of this, I want to go and pluck out my garlic and make sure I put a few in each jar. Being very careful not to crack these jars with this hot liquid. I want to pour right into the middle. If your jars are heated, which you should have had them in a warm water bath before this point to get them good and heated, they shouldn't bust. Okay, we want to put 2 spoons of, this really should be 2 teaspoons of dill seed. The reason we're putting the seed directly into the jars and not boiling it in the fluid, in the brine, is it's usually done this way because dill seeds are not very cheap, and you usually end up making way too much brine, and you don't want to waste your seeds. So if you put it directly into the jar, you'll only use what you absolutely need. And this is just for flavoring. You don't even have to use them. If you prefer more of a pickled okra taste with just a pure vinegar, you don't have to use that. Continue filling our jars until we have our brine to about a ½ inch away from the top. Alright, now we're getting these jars full. We want to bring them right up close to the top, but not all the way, about right there. Just a little bit past the bottom of the neck. Put this lid on top, push it down a little bit, get it in the right place. The jars are very hot right now. Get it good and tight. Alright, they're sealed. But there's still a little bit of air in there. And I'll show you why. First I want to mix all of my seasonings up. This is a canning pot. It comes with a rack. We're going to have to set the jars up on top of this rack because when the water comes to a boil, the bubbles coming up from the bottom will cause the jars to hit together and crack if you don't have it. If you don't have a canning pot, you can use a regular stainless steel pot. Just fold you up a dish rag and put it in the bottom of the pot to absorb all that movement so the jars don't cling together. We'll put our rack in and our jars spaced apart a little bit so that they don't bump. And then I'm going to fill this up with water up to where the water is just the slightest bit above the top of the lid. So what we've got here is our jars are submerged under this water. The water is slowly heating up. As the water slowly heats, it's going to slowly heat the contents of the jar, which is going to expand because when things heat, the molecules expand. When it expands, it's going to push all of that extra air that we left, that little gap, it's going to push it out of the jar. And I'll show you when it starts to do that. It's already starting to release a few bubbles, but it'll start to release them faster. You'll see little bubbles sneaking out of the jar. And once it's hot, and I'm pretty sure that all of the air has been pushed out, we'll turn it off, we'll take it out, we'll set it on the counter and let it cool. Once it's cooled, it's going to try to pull air back in because the content is going to contract again. When it does that, it's going to vacuum pack that lid and seal it really, really tight. And then we'll be able to keep this for the rest of the year until the next thistle season when we make some more. They're done, and we need to take them out of the water now. This water is hot and it's going to stay hot for quite a while, so I find the easiest, safest way to get them out is to just catch the neck of the bottle, the neck of the jar with this. Kind of dump the water off the top, get you a mitt, because I don't trust this to hold the full weight. Take it out, set it on the side, give a little extra squeeze. They're going to continue to seal because as this cools off, it's going to pull these lids down even tighter, which right now they're actually already tight, and you can check them once they're cooler by pushing on them. If you hear a little boop, 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 it's not sealed and it'll go bad on you. So we're going to just let this cool and then put them up on the shelf. This jar has been sealed. When you push on the top, it doesn't give. It's got a nice tight seal on it. This jar doesn't need to be sealed because it's just dried herbs. It just needs to be kept dry. But to show you what it sounds like when it's not sealed, if something that needs to be sealed isn't sealed, it's going to do this when you push on the top. The lid is going to give, it's going to pop in and out. If it does that, then you need to just go ahead and open the jar and eat it because it's not going to save. But if it's done right, you can push on it and it's not going to give. It's going to have a solid top.